so quiet.
I know, we're young for us.
I know, it's approaching 7 o'clock because you're going back to the
Ding.
table.
There it is. Okay, we'll call a Mount Pleasant Township Supervisors meeting of January 21st to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Move on to public comments. First up is Rick Walsh.
Right off the bat, huh?
Right off the bat.
Okay, Rick Walsh, 186 Main Street. I think it's very rare that, especially in a township of 3,500 plus people, that you find somebody as well qualified as Brian Temple to be a supervisor who is also a lifelong resident, local grad, has land development background, with everything that's ahead of us, this township, you know, the comprehensive rezoning, you know, just where we stand right now as far as, you know, all the issues in front of us, plus stuff that ends up getting given to the solicitor, maybe is a little more frivolous than it needs to be, comes back to the supervisors, then goes back to her. The dollars are ringing up and everything else, so it kind of, you know, weeds out some of that stuff. I just think that it's an opportunity very well missed if he is not the next supervisor appointed. And, you know, I hate to end on a bad note, but I also think that we can right a wrong. I think you got screwed last time. So that's just, but that, again, that's just my opinion. I'm good.
Thank you. Bud Osborne?
I can't improve on that last statement, I'll just second it. Very enthusiastically.
Jeff Donati.
Jeff Donati, 12 Washington Avenue. I too am petitioning for Brian Temple as the appointment. I've known Brian and his family his entire life, and his family my entire life, and I've dealt with Brian both on a personal and professional basis with the construction company that I work for. And again, reiterate, I don't know of a better qualified candidate with his background, his education, and personally his integrity. And I believe that this township needs true leadership and vision, and I believe Brian will bring both of those to the table.
Thanks. Doug Caldwell?
It's been covered.
Okay. John Badillion?
I would like to agree with what's been said with Brian. Brian, we've known the family my whole life, and Brian also has basically is a read and knows municipal work. I've served with Brian on the planning commission, and I think that Brian would make a good addition to be a third supervisor. That I think we might have an issue, a situation where now that would be a good situation where we could have three fellows working with one another.
Thanks, John. Don Cowden?
I'm just here to learn something.
Okay. Regina Schoen?
I will ditto all the above.
Rich Schoen?
Same thing.
Nedra?
Hey, I'm here. I would agree with the other people. I think Brian would be a good candidate, good supervisor. I think it would balance out the board. And I think you all three would work to the betterment of our township.
What's the name of that person?
This one? Nedra. Nedra Ursitz.
Okay.
Danielle, is it Bushfield?
I
Okay.
apologize. I just signed without realizing that it was for someone who's
Okay.
to speak.
Kim Forrest?
Well, I'm Kim Forrest. I'm at 62 Baker Road. And I'm sure Brian Temple's family and friends and neighbors love him. I know a different Brian Temple. I attended the August 2014 Planning Commission meeting. It's the one that was partially held inside and then outside, and then it was inside. I guess there was some kind of meeting conflict here. And, you know, whenever we moved in here, I don't really understand how the conversation turned to this, but Brian said that if it weren't for the yuppies who moved into this community, it would be a really great community. And then he went on to explain yuppies are the people that have come in and bought property from distressed farmers, anywhere to 1 to 15 acres. And, you know, they aren't born here. And at that time, and there are other people were here. Denzel, you were here. You heard this. I think Jane Worthington was here. And it was him as an official sitting up here. This wasn't just idle chit-chat. The board meeting was not dismissed. And in fact, we went on and did more kind of meeting stuff after this. This was just kind of a little segue in the middle of the meeting. So here's my problem. I don't know that he's referring to me because I'm not especially young and yuppie. That first letter stands for young. And I didn't buy my property off a distressed farmer. I bought it off of, it was a for sale sign in front of a built home that somebody that, you know, built in the community, and nobody held it. I didn't hold a gun to anybody's head, and I bought it. So I understand about small communities and about how people who live here and who grew up here love it, and they have a special fondness for other people that grew up here and love it. But you know what? People that move in here would like to love it too. And I'm unsure, given the comments that were made and the kind of, I got a vitriol when he was talking, you know, it was coming out of him like he really didn't like the newcomers. I'm not sure he could represent all the people of Mount Pleasant Township. Furthermore, if this was a more diluted board, like we had 5 supervisors, it wouldn't matter so much. But there are 3 supervisors. That's a really small number. And with somebody with such a bias, I'm concerned as somebody that lives here that, you know, I go to work, I pay my mortgage, I have a lot invested here, and I don't know that I'd be heard. I have serious concerns.
Okay, thank you. Bill, Forrest?
On a different note, I'm not sure item F of the agenda, it says motion to acknowledge the appointment of the new solicitor for the zoning hearing board. I just want to raise some concerns I have about that. When you read Mr. Berggren's bio, he has extensive experience in estate, wills, family law, business contract matters, and in all, not some, but all automobile-related matters, lemon law and warranty matters. And it goes on with more of the same. He's worked as solicitor in 2 different school districts, and it focuses on collective bargaining agreements, teachers' contracts. I don't think that's a guy who should be solicitor for a zoning hearing board. I don't see anything about zoning. I don't see any experience there. And I have concerns about that because of everything that goes on in the township and ends up at the zoning hearing board. So I'm not sure what the acknowledgement of that appointment, what that really means. I just wanted to raise concerns I have about that appointment.
Thank you. Thank you. Joanne Wagner? Oh, there you are.
I know that I talked with Brian Smith when there was a vacancy, when Larry Grimm, when Arden left town and left a vacancy in our board, and at the time Brian had a conflict with, or maybe that was before when Gary, we were running for election, but there was a conflict with the company that was disclosed, had something to do with grants or LSA money and competing for the same money, and that could potentially be a conflict because the township also is competing. So essentially we were competing, he was representing 2 interests that were competing. And so I have that concern, and then the other concern I have is that the type of work that is done by Imperial Land, and my impression is the courting of industry to get them to develop on their property. So I love Brian, I have a great deal of respect for Brian, but I'd like to understand if those conflicts still exist, and maybe he can address those. And then, this isn't so much an issue, but at last night's hearing, I was bullied by one of my neighbors, and somebody was trying to intimidate me. I'm not going to mention who it was, but I've done nothing but try to bring information to the table in this township. And I can honestly say that I'm trying to help. And this isn't about me, it's about 1,200 children at the school. I don't think that the issues, we need to look at these issues as community issues, not individual issues. And this person that bullied me went and sat by Brian. So I don't know what to think about that. I don't think that behavior is acceptable. I've never publicly bullied anybody. This person has spoken at the microphone in the fire hall against me on numerous occasions, and then again last night. So I have concerns about that. So Brian, if you're here, if you could address those three things, it would make me feel more comfortable. And I don't know who else is up for supervisor, but that's my concerns.
Thank you. Frank Fiore?
I have no comment other than just a general question. There are obviously more than one person nominated. Are we going to get to hear from these four, or is it just whoever decides to speak?
We have resumes from the four of them that are up.
So will those be discussed in the context of this meeting?
We'll discuss them or make a motion, one or the other.
Thank you.
We're not sure ourselves exactly how we're going to proceed with that, so.
Amy Lynn? Kyler?
Amy Lynn Kyler, 2012 Stillwater. I'm a newcomer to all of this. I'm fairly new to Mount Pleasant. And I think the disadvantage that we're at right now is that this isn't an elected position right now. It's an appointed position. And I think it puts Gary and Denzel in a difficult position to be having to make a decision when, everyone's sort of here voicing their opinion. I sort of wish that it wouldn't have opened this way, because I think it creates a conflict of interest in some respect, or an influencing that is not necessarily what the community needs. I know there are some other interested parties, including myself. I threw my hat in the ring because I feel like I'm not well educated, and I felt like on the topics that are going on in the township. So I felt like, as a business leader who's built a significant sized business, who works with very large corporations on a day-to-day basis, that I would bring a fresh perspective and to the community. I love it here. I think that it's a great community of people. I think we have a great environment and culture around us. And my desire really is to serve the people. So Denzel, Gary, I feel bad for you. I think it is a very difficult position, and I feel like we owe it to you not to be necessarily trying to influence or encourage, but instead to let you make the best decision for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shane? Baga?
Yeah, I threw my name into the ring to be a supervisor. I served this board for 12 years in the past, and I felt with the circumstances going on in the township right now that someone with some past supervised experience that could get right involved there and maybe know a little bit about the issues of the past, I might be able to help out.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak that didn't sign? We'll let you stand, state your name, and... Nope. Okay. We'll Move on to new business.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the reports that have been submitted.
A second. Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I also move that we authorize payment for invoices for the period 12/5/14 to 1/15/15 as presented.
I will second that. Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Make a motion to approve the minutes of the December 10th, 2014 regular board meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I move that we accept the resignation of Supervisor Brian Smith effective 12/31/14.
I'll second. Motion's been made and second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I move that we appoint Summer Temple to the Parks and Recreation Board effective 1/12/15 for the 5-year term ending December the 31st, 2019.
I'll second that. Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. I'll make a motion to acknowledge the appointment of Tim Bergren from Bergren and Tudorice as the newest solicitor for the zoning hearing board at a rate of $95 per hour and a fee of $250 to attend to each meeting. And that's based on the fact that the zoning hearing board interviewed other solicitors that were interested, and this is the one that they chose.
A second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2016 Western Star 4700 SB standard transmission cab and chassis truck from Vida Freightliner under the state contract for a price not to exceed $96,155, in which Vida Freightliner agrees to have the cab and chassis delivered to the dump body / hydraulic installation vendor within 16 weeks or less of receiving this truck order.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? All in favor
Wait a minute,
signify.
did you change automatic to standard?
Yes.
From the, okay.
And that's why I put not to exceed, because it'll be less money.
Okay, that's fine, I just wanted to make sure that was.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Make a motion to approve the purchase of the dump body hydraulic installation from U.S. Municipal Supply under the state contract for a price not to exceed $60,200, which includes a plow spreader, in which U.S. Municipal Supply agrees to have the completed truck delivered to Mount Pleasant Township in 14 weeks or less of receiving a cab and chassis from Vida Freightliner. And the reason that price changed is they've added on-spot chains, which is $1,200.
Okay.
I second the motion. I'm sorry.
I thought I was going to have to wake you up for a minute.
Yes.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda has to do with the appointment.
Yes.
And before we begin to move toward an appointment, we have 4 candidates that I think are all qualified. And perhaps we ought to spend a little bit of time thinking about and talking about the criteria that should be applied to this decision.
Before we, I know that 3 of the candidates are here. Should we have them speak?
We could. I have no problem with that.
Why don't we do that?
That's fine.
We will.
2 of them have already spoken.
2 of them already have, but if they have other stuff that they want to add, this would be the time to do it, right?
Indeed.
So what we have is Shane Maga, Amy Lynn, Jane Worthington, and Brian Temple. Those are the four that applied. And Jane's not here. So, but we do have three here, so,
Where's Brian?
meet Becker.
Oh, there, hiding back there, okay.
So, since we've got two guys and one lady, we'll let Amy Lynn go first.
Well, thank you. As I said earlier, I'm fairly new to the area. I've been in Cherry Valley for about 3.5 years. And I love the community. I think this is an amazing township. It's the best kept secret. And we're really happy to be here. I will openly admit I'm not an expert in some of the things that are going on in the township. I'm not a developer, but my career is developing people and developing relationships, and doing what's in the best interest of very large organizations. And when I think about being a township supervisor, I don't really think, as Denzel said, you know, all of the 4 people on paper are qualified. I don't really think, in my mind, that the qualifications of being a supervisor are about being degreed in development or even having been on past supervisory township boards before. But instead, it's more about having an open mind and really understanding what's going on in the township and making discerned decisions about how issues should be handled. Even in this situation, I guess I'm looking at this and thinking, well, there were interviews for the zoning hearing board, but are there interviews for this position? Is there a criteria that was developed to say, these are the qualifications and this is how we measured each candidate against the qualifications? So with a lot of the issues that are going on in the township today, we're all learning, right? I don't think that there's anyone in this room right now that can profess to be an expert. So I really believe that we should be picking the person that has the most non-biased opinion, that can bring a fresh perspective, and really has a heart to do what's right for the community. So
Thank
that's
you.
why I put my name in.
Okay,
Thank you. Shane?
I don't really have anything to add. I think both of you individuals know me, and, you know, that's your decision. But I think all the candidates that have applied for the position will probably do a wonderful job.
Thank you. Brian?
Thank you.
I mean, I put my name in previously when Denzel was appointed, mainly because I've been serving on the planning commission since 2007. I've been involved here with that. I enjoy it. A little bit about me, you know, I was born and raised here, pretty much lived here my entire life other than when I was in college. I went from the private sector to the public sector, back to the private sector. I worked for 12 years as the community development director for North Township, and pretty much oversaw the development, residential, commercial development there. There's one question Joanne asked, you know, now I do work in the private sector for Imperial Land Corporation, which is a privately held company that's main interest is real estate development. We have an industrial park in Finley Township. There are no businesses in that park that are oil and gas related. We have gas wells located on our property, but no association to, you know, anything going on within the industry other than the wells on the property. In the past, you know, there was, you know, when I talked to Brian Smith previously, there was the possible concern that Imperial Land at some point would, when they develop pretty much an industrial park, and this is tilt-up type buildings, size-wise 100,000 square feet. We have 450,000 square feet Gordon Food Service warehouse.
that's being built right now, when you do that type of development in Robinson Township to generate tax dollars for the school district in Robinson, pretty much on the property between Midway McDonald and Quicksilver Golf Course, that we could at some point, assist Midway Sewer Authority in getting some local service money to extend utilities. If that occurs, the highway's not gonna open until 2019. By the time we would extend any utilities up to that site, we're over 6 years out. So there's no conflict right now of any, possibility of going after any LSA money on behalf of the township or Imperial Land really at the same time. That's,
What was the conflict before?
there was talk before that we would go after some LSA money about extending some roads up onto the property at the time. That has since passed because of the changes with the connector road. The Fort Cherry connector road, where it's gonna, the connection now is gonna tie straight into 980 instead of make a loop. Originally, there's a house on 980 that has the governor's driveway. Originally, the connector road was gonna go up in Robinson Township and make a U and come back down and tie in. We had talked about going after some money for that. That's been changed by the Turnpike Commission. It's gonna come down and tie directly into 980 now. We were talking about going after design money to prove that that change should be made. The Turnpike did it by themselves.
So what would happen if another conflict arises?
I can't predict the future. If a conflict arises, if I was a supervisor here, Imperial Land does not own any property within Mount Pleasant Township. So as far as a conflict with the occurring, it couldn't happen. The only property, we own property within the school district, which would be in Robinson Township. But currently, all of our development is in Allegheny County in Finn Township and West Allegheny School District.
Is that everything, Brian?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. I have a question. Is this appointment for 1 year or 3 years?
This appointment is for the
The next
balance of
election.
2015, and that's probably something we should explain. Whoever's appointed has to run in the election in 2015. Because it's a municipal election year,
Yeah. Or not, I mean, but,
they have to run.
right.
Well, if they
And-
want to, if they want to continue.
If they
in the
want to
job.
continue.
Yeah.
So there will be 2 positions on the ballot. One will be a 2-year position, right? And one will be a 6-year position, because Densel was up this year also.
Right.
So there'll be 2 positions on the ballot. So whoever's appointed would be here for the balance of this year, and then if they run and win, then they would have a
Finish
either
the
2-year
term.
or a 6-year appointment. That make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Understand?
That was my understanding, so,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, as I indicated before, I think all 4 of these people are qualified.
I believe they are also.
And quite frankly, I've been wrestling with the decision for several days now. And it seems to me that there are 3 primary criteria that I would apply to the appointee. And one, I think that an individual should demonstrate an eagerness to serve the community. And I think all have done that. Number 2, I think that all should have a background in leadership positions of some sort, and I think all have demonstrated that. The third item, it seems to me that someone appointed to this board should be representative of the constituency that we represent. And right now, we've got 2 two old men, well, maybe I should only speak for myself here, Gary.
No, I'm an old man too.
And the median age in this township is 40. So it seems to me that we need someone who is closer to that median age. In addition to that, the last census, there were 3,400 residents. 1,700 of them were male, 1,700 were female. Exactly 50% for male and female. And it seems to me that we need a female on this board. But in addition to that, beg your pardon? It also seems to me that for a very practical matter, Brian Temple is exactly where he should be. Brian is chairman of our planning commission, and that is right now probably the most important job in this township. There are two issues before that planning commission that absolutely need to be resolved and resolved quickly. One has to do with the revision of our oil and gas ordinances. The other one has to do with the creation of a new comprehensive plan, and it is way overdue. Those two documents, those two items, are things that need to move forward and come to this body quickly, and I think that Brian Temple is the one to do that. I think he is the one to lead that effort. On a more practical matter, with regards to the two positions that are going to be up for election this coming November, Brian has already promised that he's going to beat me for that 6-year appointment. He didn't promise me. I get by way of the grapevine that Brian has promised to beat me royally, and he probably, given the current climate, probably wouldn't have a lot of difficulty doing that, and probably wouldn't have to spend a whole lot of money. So with that, I'm showing my bias, Mr. Chairman, and as a result, I'm going to move that Amy Lynn Kyler be appointed the third supervisor to Mount Pleasant Township Board of Supervisors.
I can't second that. I think at this board right now, we need the expertise that somebody like Brian could bring. He can still work through and work with the planning commission. I think that with leadership and here, so that we understand that whole planning process better, because I don't understand it real good, so I can't second that. On the other hand, I'll make a motion
So
for
it
Brian.
dies for lack of a second?
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we appoint Brian Temple to fulfill this year with his guidance on the board and also on the planning commission. I think we can get that done a lot quicker.
And for the aforementioned reasons, I can't second that.
Okay.
And in fact, I will vote for Brian Temple when he runs in November.
So therefore, that means that we will have to convene the vacancy board, which we have, from the time he resigned, we have 30 days. And then we have 15 days after that to convene a vacancy board. I'm out of town from the 22nd through February 1st. I would like to see us try and convene the vacancy board. Actually, if we could do it on the 2nd, we have the continuation of the hearing on the 3rd. And if we can do the vacancy board and have somebody in place on the 2nd so they can attend that, I think would be very important. So,
Mr. Chairman, February 2nd is the planning commission meeting.
okay.
Just have to do it at a different time.
Planning commission meeting starts at 7. Vacancy board will start at 6,
And provided he's
provided
available.
he's available.
You have to advertise that meeting?
Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I got one question. Is it, just, I'm sure everybody's thinking this right now. Is it down to those two? Or when you bring in the person for the vacancy board, is it all 4?
Vacancy board can do whatever it wants.
Yeah. I would say it'd be all 4.
Okay.
For our education, what is a vacancy board and what does it consist
That's
of?
one person that's appointed by the board, and the vacancy board consists of the 2 supervisors, and the vacancy board appointee is the chairman.
So you two appoint someone?
We've appointed.
He's already
yeah.
appointed.
Very good.
So wait a minute, you're at an impasse now, you're gonna bring a third person in.
And hopefully,
Right, the dot.
Persuade one of you to
right,
renege, I don't see that happening.
well, and if that doesn't happen,
No.
and if we can't come to a consensus at that point, and the 15 days lapses, it goes to the court, and the court appoints somebody,
Oh, yeah,
right?
it's like they did
Right.
with rezoning.
But it doesn't need to be unanimous, right?
No, it has
So
to
if he
be
comes in and
2.
he
You only,
agrees
you have
with
to be
you
a
or he
majority, it
agrees
has to
with
be
you, it's done.
2. 2 out of the 3 have to agree.
So 2 out of the 3 will make the decision.
Yes.
Well, do we have to bring it back to the public?
No.
Okay,
It's gonna be a
It'll be
public
a public
meeting.
meeting.
that's what I want, yeah.
It'll be a public
Yeah.
meeting.
And why aren't the other 2 candidates considered at this point?
They will, but
No, like right now, between you 2. You discounted the other 2. You've only talked about, we disagree on these 2, but we have, at the beginning, we said 4 equally.
Well, I think we realize at this point it's gonna be an impasse, and it's just best to go to the vacancy board and be done with it. Is basically what we,
It's only gonna be for the duration of this year.
yes.
We have Shane Maga, who has walking knowledge right in front of us.
that's right. And we will consider that at the board meeting, at the vacancy board meeting.
We're gonna move on to discussion of board members of the PennDOT winter maintenance agreement.
Bill's here.
Bill, do you want to talk about the winter maintenance? Well, let me ask you first. Did you ever hear back from PennDOT?
Yes, he talked to him too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I talked to Rick Marker from PennDOT today, and he said his recommendation is not to do anything until the winter season is over, because by the time they put all the paperwork through, it would be the end of March or the first part of April before it would even come back. So
I kind of figured that was gonna be, however, it's a real pain. I've had more phone calls on these roads that we turned back over to the state because they're not doing them and they're not doing them properly. And I think we even had to send somebody out on one of them. One of our trucks had to go out and do some.
Well, I went out myself and rescued our police car.
Yeah. So.
Or in the tow truck to go up and get the police car.
But I think next year, we're gonna have to take a hard look at that and about taking them back.
Well, is there any possibility that they would agree to do something different than what they're doing now?
I mean, at this point in
Right,
time?
right.
No.
The problem is,
They have to have all the
They-
legal stuff done, and
Yeah.
money has to be distributed.
and actually, some of these roads the state doesn't even do, they've subcontracted out to somebody else, right?
Yeah, they're having an employee, or personnel problem over the last couple of years with the retirement of a lot of the employees.
Okay, I guess the phone will continue to ring every time it snows.
Yeah, probably.
Bill's doing a
But-
good job down there on Belgian Hall.
At this point, there's nothing we can do about it.
And Gary, you know that there's problems with Sword Cherry Road in the
Yes.
school buses.
And yes, that's, I talked to Jill, she talked to PennDOT, we've talked to PennDOT, police have talked to PennDOT.
Ongoing.
Unfinished business, municipal authority vacancy appointment.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Jeff Donati to fulfill the unexpired term and the municipal authority.
I will second that. Motion been made and second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Oh, crap.